Okay, so let's review for Unit 7. So first thing we're going to review is percents of increase and decrease. So percent of increase, the formula for that is you take the new amount minus the original amount, then divide that by the original amount. Okay, so you take whatever the new amount is because it was increased, and you're going to subtract that by whatever the original amount was, and then divide it by that same amount, by the original amount. Percent of decrease is the original amount minus the new amount divided by the original amount. Okay, so I can probably say all these words over and over and over again, but you probably won't understand it until you see an example. So let's look at the example. Last week, you finished level 2 in your video game in 32 minutes. Today, you finished level 2 in your video game in 28 minutes. What is your percent of change? So the first thing we need to think of is, was it a percent of increase or decrease? So just looking at the numbers, did the minutes decrease or did the minutes increase? So last week, you were at 32 minutes. Then you went to 28 minutes. So because the number went down, it means you had a percent of decrease. Okay, so we need to use the formula percent of decrease. So we take the original amount, which is 32 minutes, minus the new amount, which was 28 minutes. And then we have to divide all of that by the original amount, which is 32. Okay, 32 minus 28 is 4. And then we're going to divide 4 by 32. Okay, so now remember, 4 divided by 32. The numerator is the one that's inside the house. The denominator is outside. So in this case, our numerator is 4. So I'm going to write it off to the side here. 4 is inside the house. And then what's outside the house is the denominator, which is, in this case, 32. So 32 into 4. You can't do it. So you got to put our decimal, add the 0. 32 goes into 40 one time. 1 times 32. 40 minus is 32, 40 minus 32 is 8. Bring down another 0. 32 goes into 80 2 times. 2 times 32 is 64. 80 minus 64 is, gotta do all the, 10 minus 4 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring down another 0. 32 goes into 160 5 times. So, and then when I multiply 32 minus 50, it's going to equal 160, so it'll equal out to 0. Okay, so we fully divided it. So now we have our decimal, but we do not have our percent. To turn that decimal into a percent, we need to move the decimal 2 place values to the right, okay? Because you're making a decimal into a percentage. If you're turning a percentage into decimal, which is what we've been doing lately, you're going to move that decimal 2 places to the left. But we're turning a decimal into percent, so we got to move it 2 places to the right. So that's going to have, or we're going to have 12.5%. So our 12.5% decrease because the number of minutes went down. So it was a 12.5% decrease. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to try this on your own. Try this on your own and use the same method that I used up here. Make sure you check first though, is it a percent of increase or is it a percent of decrease? Just look at the numbers and see that the numbers go up from, did the original number go up or did it go down? Okay, then you're just going to use one of these formulas and make sure you turn your decimal into a percentage. If you leave it as a decimal, that's not the correct answer. Okay, then after you finish that, try this, then you can move on to the second video.